Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Longbox here with Nandor, Fox, Shaffer. How you doing? It's been a while since I've seen you.
Yeah, John. Hey, yeah, it's been a minute, hasn't it? It's great to be here. I'm glad to see that you're healthy and you're looking good, and you
Yep.
have my book. Yeah.
I got your book. It just came. I forget everything. When you're out of work, all the days blend in. It could have been yesterday. Could have been a month ago.
Yeah, no, I've been completely swamped with fulfillment and shipping out everyone's books, and I was really trying to get all of the books out for the Fabled Offering before my new campaign to get it as soon as possible, so that people would know that one, I do fulfill, and hopefully they'll read it in time or around the same time the campaign is live, that they'll enjoy it and want to see what else I'm working on. So it's been I just finally kind of cleaned up my office here, but like for a while there was just all cardboard, bags and boards everywhere, comics everywhere. So now everything's a bit more organized, but all I have is like a few international packages to ship out. And I'm still waiting on some sketches from Marco, the artist, for some backers who got some original sketches, but it's only around like 10 packages that I'm waiting to ship out. So it's really pretty much all fulfilled so far. So I'm happy.
You're doing it yourself, right?
Yes. Yeah. I'm doing it all myself. I bag and board each book. I look at each one to make sure there's nothing, wrong with it, and make sure that, there's no scratches or dents or anything like that. And, it's honestly one of my favorite parts of making comics and of doing this, because, I really want to make sure that each package is dealt with care, and that it's going to the right place. And if anything happens, if it doesn't get to the right place, or if they need a replacement, I know it's my fault. Like, I know it's something I did. I take responsibility and I fix it, rather than praying and hoping someone else gets it right. Because sometimes, I don't know, maybe I'm kind of a control freak in that way, but I just want to make sure everything is smooth sailing. So I try to do everything on my own as much as I can,
Yeah, I'm at pre-press right now, and then we're gonna start printing any minute now. So
very cool.
This to me, this is my first campaign.
Yeah,
I like writing the comics. I liked watching the art come in. I liked watching them get colored. I liked watching them get lettered. I did not like all of the computer stuff that I don't know how to do.
Yeah. All the production. Yeah.
I did not it stressed me out. I was up all night. Some nights, like, thank God I wasn't working. I mean, I was like waking up. Oh, where's that file? I misplaced that. Oh, the pages are going to be out of order. Because I'm not good with computers, and I have stuff in a Google Drive that I'm sending to, and I'm sure everybody's laughing at me because it's probably the easiest thing in the world. I got stuff in this Google folder. I gotta send it out to transfer to this guy, and it was just the worst. I hated it. And now I think when comics come to my house, it's tangible. I like bagging and boarding. I like sorting. I like putting things in stacks.
Yeah, exactly.
I just bought a printer. I'm pointing over there, like you can see, labels and everything. That I think it's going to be fun, because it's a physical, like, transferring files to this. There's nothing to touch. There's nothing.
It feels very illusory, and you're always kind of second guessing yourself. Like, wait, is that because there's so much like minutia that goes into all of that type of work, because you're like, well, what if we, change this one thing or this one line? Is that the correct lettering file? Does that have the right bubble or the font that we used for that bubble?
Well, my lettering, I had Bill Williams do my lettering. He was perfect. Digital file.
Yeah, I usually find, when I get the letters back, that's really my final edit pass, where I look through all the dialogue. I make sure there's, things that, like, do I like the way that character, do I like the way the dialogue is for that character, and the rhythm of it and the pacing of it? And so, but there are times, where I'm 100% sure, but then I'll have that middle of the night wake up moment where I'm like, oh crap, I don't think, like, I need to clarify something. There's something that's bothering me about that line. But you know, at some point you have to let go, right? You have to surrender. You have to be like, okay,
I said that to
it's
Bill
done.
yesterday. I said, this is the final, you know, this is it. You know, if I didn't catch the mistakes right now, nobody's going to catch the mistake.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then after I said that, I found a coloring mistake. That you were asking me, you commented, yes, I'm out of my neck brace. For those of you who don't know, I literally broke my neck. I was going back and forth to the hospital worrying about, so I goofed up and didn't catch a coloring error. So that's being fixed right now, you know, literally seconds before we do everything. It would have driven me crazy because people would have asked.
Yeah, they would have been like, why is that different there? Yeah.
What happened there? This, because there's a close-up of it. So it obviously means something, you know.
Yeah.
So
well, good. I'm glad, you know, I mean, that's what I will say. That's what is a good thing about editors. And I don't usually work with one, but that is the great thing is if you can get eyes on the work before it goes to print, you might have someone who can see that, you know, notice those types of things, because, you know, we're managing so many other things, right? We're thinking about, you know, we're juggling like, you know, the art and the lettering and the production and the design and what we want the inside cover to look like and the back cover to look like and all those types of things. And sometimes it's hard to keep it all straight. You know, you kind of have to go, oh man. But, you know, they're thankfully, I feel like, you know, I've gotten it down to a science in some ways. But there are still things about my books that I'll look back on and I'll question, but no one else has mentioned them before. So I'm like, okay, it must be fine. But, you know, sometimes the perfectionist comes out and you keep thinking this needs to be tweaked and this needs to be tweaked. But eventually, like we said, it's like you kind of have to let it go and like, hey, we need to go to the next issue. You know, like there's more to this. We can't just stay on issue 1 all the time.
Right now, unless there's something glaring that I just didn't notice, it's done.
Yeah.
It's done.
Awesome. Well, that's a great feeling. I mean, that's a relief, right?
We got Alpha Red. Alpha Red was just on last week. I think did your comic just go live today, Alpha? You know, check. I think
his comic did go live recently. Yeah, I think the last couple of days.
And we got Zach Dan over here with the drive-by blessing. We got Marcus. What are we saying? Wait until you have the tax forms for your artist. I didn't hire anybody. I don't know what you're talking about.
Wait a second. We don't talk about that. I did it, right?
No taxes, Mike. You know, if I didn't make any money, how is that taxes going to be involved?
Right.
You know, if anything, it's a loss.
It's a loss. Yeah. More often than not.
You know, I don't know what you're talking about. Renzo and I were just getting lots of pizza, just hanging out getting pizza. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh God. So let me bring up your campaign. Where
yeah, I think you're, you know, in being a fan of your channel and watching, you know, your live streams on Classic Comics, and I know how much fondness you have of like the Silver Age and Bronze Age and stuff. I think you're really going to dig Manchild. I'm excited to talk about it with you.
Oh, okay. Well, you just made me think of this. I've been sending out, you know, there is an echo someplace. I've been sending out the digital files for, you know, for a couple people, just like. What I want you to do is just look at this comic and tell me if you notice any mistakes. Like, I don't care about content. I don't, but so a couple of people read it already, you know, just
nice.
Like look at, you know, and 3, I sent it out to 5 people and 2 of them pointed out this image. So now this is the image that I'm just showing. And when you said Classic Comics, they all said the same thing. This looks like something right out of an old Marvel. I love this panel. Oh God!
Oh so yeah!
I'm showing this to everybody, and it's funny because I put this image on Twitter, and the comments were, "Are those thought balloons?" I'm like, "Yep." Like I haven't.
That's right.
Thought balloon.
Dude, I love and I miss thought balloons, and Manchild has a ton of them. I love them so much. I miss them. Yeah.
Because here we have a superhero. My character, the Patriarch, is flying over the city. Who's he going to talk to?
Who's he talking to? Yeah,
right.
No,
right.
He's thinking. You know,
he's thinking. Yeah, there we go. So I just wanted to show that. But let's. Oh, okay. Marcus is good moderator. He's bringing up Alpha Red's campaign, new supervillain from Destroying the World on Indiegogo. So that's what those supervillains are always doing. They're always trying to destroy the world. I mean, I always think of that.
What's up with that?
As a joke for college, I wanted to make a student film about a guy who hears voices. And but the thing is, the voices were going to be like, "Did you clean your room today?" Like the voices were good voices.
Yeah, the conscience, the guilt
like
complex.
Did you shut the cabinets? Your mother hates it when you leave the cabinet. Oh, and he goes back in and just shuts the cabinet.
I like that. Yeah, you could have a comic that's just like OCD, and like, wait, did I straighten that? Did I lock the door? All that kind of stuff.
So here we got your comic. This a little different. Your other one was The Fabled Offering, and now we got Manchild. Tell me about Manchild.
Yeah, so completely different types of books. I did want to point out too, like I'm very excited for you to read Fabled Offering because a lot of people have told me it's my best work yet. So
I put it right on the top here because once I see your face, I get embarrassed that I didn't read your comic yet. You know what I mean? So,
well, that's okay. But yeah, so Manchild, we're on issue 3 right now. This is a project that I've been working on for a while, and I've put out the first 2 issues, and we're on to issue 3. And this is a Silver Age inspired story with a modern day twist. So it's an alternating narrative. That's what's so interesting about this series. And you follow the Monarch Crier, who is this butterfly superhero character right there. And you follow his adventures in this Silver Age inspired world. So it has thought balloons. There's a lot of like narration in the like cadence of a Stan Lee or Roy Thomas or writers like that of the Silver and Bronze Age.
Oh, I love this.
And then and so you're following the superhero, but at the same time, that character right there, Rufus, who's on the ground,
he looks like a Rufus.
Yeah, exactly, right. And so
it's so cool when the name matches just them.
The character. Yeah. So he looks like a Rufus. And so like you follow him at the same time in the real world. So you're following Monarch Crier in the superhero world, and then you're also following Rufus. And
What's the butterfly character's name again? I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. The Monarch Crier.
Okay.
Yeah. So the captivating Monarch Crier is what I introduce him as in the series, and so it's about fantasy and reality. It's a commentary on comic book fandom because Rufus is a comic book fan himself, and he loves comics, and he's totally absorbed in it, and he is the man-child basically. But it's also a commentary on the idea of what that term means through the lens of the 21st century, So
I got to bring up something when you're done talking about this.
Yeah, of course. And so, this campaign features the debut of our rogues gallery for the Monarch Crier, and that is the Sadistic Six. So, we're taking a spin off the Sinister Six for sure, but all these characters, we're opening the world. And in this issue, the Monarch Crier is imprisoned on Professor Pilgrim's island, and he has to fight all of his villains, and in kind of a free-for-all brawl. And whoever defeats the Monarch Crier is able to go free. So the villains are imprisoned on this island as well. And we're titling this issue Wednesday Warrior. It's the 3rd issue in the series. Wednesday's the 3rd day of the week, and we have there is the Sadistic Six and Professor Pilgrim. That's going to be a 2-page splash in the book itself. So those are the main villains of the Monarch Crier all together there.
Splash, I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, this reminds me of Ditko. Oh, this reminds me of Buscema. This there's just so many different artistic so I'm trying to think of the word, like I don't know, it looks like so much classic stuff that it's hard to pick, like Summit over here. I see a lot of Steve Ditko in that, but then I see Frostman and I see some Jack Kirby, but I look at the Pillar and the Crane, and there's some John Buscema. So that's pretty cool. Who drew this?
So Jay Mazar is the artist for this book, and he does it all. He does the pencils, inks, and colors, and he's done the first 2 issues. And so yeah, we're on to issue 3.
I love this design.
Yeah.
It's so good. You're following all my rules. Simple, elegant costume, and the Monarch Crier. Monarch butterfly, Monarch theme.
Yeah, and it's so like a butterfly is so non-threatening, right? Like there's an underdog element to it where you're like, what could a butterfly character do? But it's a really I wanted to kind of take that and to kind of turn it on its head and have a formidable character that he could use that to his advantage. And yeah, it's one of my favorite. That's a splash page. That's one of my favorite pages where you have them. You have him bowed before the sadistic 6, and he's in torment because his love interest he believes has been killed. Professor Pilgrim has told him that she's no longer alive, and so he's in complete sorrow while he has to fight his arch nemesis, and his villain. So I did want to feature really quickly at the top of the page. I just want to
say this right here on the bottom.
Yeah,
where this reminds me of Steve Rude over here. So many cool influences in the artwork. But you want to go back to the top?
Yeah, just go down a little bit. I wanted to feature one of the covers, that green, that cover right there. So that cover is done.
This reminds me of Steve Rude. This is so cool.
Yeah, so that actually, it's Steve Epting, and he is of course, the co-creator of The Winter Soldier, and he also did, he worked with Ed Brubaker on the Captain America run in the early 2000s, and he did a lot of Avengers stuff.
Looking at his stuff the other day, so good.
Yeah, so that was a dream come true for me because he is my favorite artist. I think.
Wow, how cool is that?
Yeah, so I had I reached out to him, a shot in the dark, and I pitched him the story, and I sent him the PDFs of the first 2 issues, and he loved it. He wanted to do a cover for it. He loved the design for the Monarch Crier. And so there we have the Monarch Crier popping out at us, and you have Professor Pilgrim's eyes in the background.
Yeah, that is really good.
Yeah, and then you have all the villains surrounding him in silhouette. So it really came out so well. I'm so proud of it. I'm so happy with it. Good. And I, shout out to Steve Epting. Like I said, he is my favorite comic book artist. I followed his work for years. He's done amazing work, and I can't believe that I was able to work with him. It's still something that I kind of pinch myself over, but that's a limited.
I still can't believe I got Pat Broderick to draw for me. It's the same thing.
Yeah, that's right. And so this is a limited edition variant cover. We have an early bird discount going for it. This is the last day that you can get it at a discount. So anyone watching who wants to get this cover, if you want to save some cash, you can do that tonight. So I'm really cannot wait to get this in my hands. It's such a dope cover.
So it reminds me of Mark Allred. Yeah, it kind of does. I could see some Mark Allred in the work. I think good villain teams and teams more than the sum of the parts. Yeah. Look at
exactly.
I hate when any one of them leave and join the Avengers or something.
Yeah, I know. Really I know.
So I'm going to look down at your reward. So yes, a PDF. You got to have a PDF. I didn't want to have a PDF, but I had a guy in Ireland saying, "Then I can't get your comic. I'm not paying $40 ship." So yeah.
Right.
Jay, I see Jay's. I don't know how I'm in a chat group with Jay. He's a good guy. He's always posting work every day. Good guy.
Very cool.
Yeah, this is cool. So this is just one cover.
Yeah.
The bundle for all 3 issues. That's a good job.
Yeah, and then we have the different alternate covers, variant covers. I usually only print maybe 50 to 75, depending on how many orders I get. So we'll print hundreds of cover A, but the variant covers are very limited. And that's why the price point is a little different there. But so we have a cover by Pablo Romero and then Nathan Lorenzana, which features the Crane and Highness Helen. And all of these come with the PDF as well. So, cool. If you get a physical book and the PDF. And then we have our first ever gatefold cover. So this is going to be a wraparound gatefold cover that you can, fold out when you get it. And not, I don't really see this from many indies. This isn't something that I see an option for. So
no, this is the first time I've seen it.
Yeah, we're really breaking new ground. I was able to talk to my printer and other printers and kind of see, you know, what's available out there and if it's even doable. So I'm very, very excited to be able to do a gatefold cover. And this one is also an early bird. So if you want to get this for people who are watching, you get a discount. Just it'll expire 12 a.m. tonight. Okay. So yeah.
Oh, this is the Steve Epting cover. Cool.
Correct. Yeah. And you get the PDF, the Steve Epting cover, and like I said, that's an early bird as well. So only available in the first 48 hours, and then those are just the regular, like after the early bird goes away. Yeah. Okay.
I was just looking. Oh, you got a retail bundle. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And then for people who just want to get the A covers, you know, you can get a bundle. This is also an early bird. So if you haven't read the first 2 issues and you want to get all 3 together, you can get it at a discount as well. Usually they're all sold at $9.99, but cool. for 3 it'll be $25.
Oh. What is this physical or is this digital?
Physical. Yeah, that's the physical bundle. Yeah.
So then what's this? So.
Yeah, so that's the physical bundle as well. It's just not the early bird version of it.
I see.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
Okay.
And then so we have a collector's edition available too, where you can get an exclusive Sadistic 6 art print, cool. And you get the cover A, the PDF, and then your name in the book as well. Okay. So we'll put your name in the acknowledgments, and. Yeah, Steve Epting is great, Marcus. Man, I love his work so much.
Oh, I see. I keep getting that you know, the early bird's going to be dropped out.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But yeah, and then so I have the collector's edition available. So people who want a signed copy of the book and the art print, but you want a variant cover, you know, of your choice, you can choose which variant you want signed. And then you get, you know, your name in the book, you get the book signed and all the other stuff. So it's basically the same as the collector's edition. It's just that you can pick which variant cover you want.
I got you. Oh, cool. Original sketch. All 5 covers. That's what I was going to ask. Where's the all 5 covers?
Yeah. So yeah, and this is at a discount. You save some money if you want to get all the 5 covers there. I mean, you get and you get the PDF. So you get the gatefold, you get the other 4 covers and the PDF, all for $90. So I mean, it's kind of a steal there.
Cool. Drawn into the story. Cool. It's fun. It's funny. Do you get requests to, like, I want to get beaten up or like stepped on by
you know, I haven't gotten that request yet. That's something that I can't wait to get. I've had people pick these tiers before, but they're just kind of like, put me in anywhere, you know, just make it clear that it's me.
I haven't done it yet. I can't think of a place where people would fit in, but
yeah,
Brian Bauer of Wolf and Batsy, he had a tier because Wolf and Batsy, they're monsters and they're killing people. So it's like, get killed by wolf, get killed by bat. And he says people are just like, oh man, could it be like horrible? Could like guts be flying out?
Oh my gosh, yeah. That's awesome.
People want to be killed in the most violent way. So I could just only imagine if you're going to be drawn in, especially with supervillains, like, can I be punched or?
Yeah, right. Can they like strangle me to death?
Whistling by the bank.
Yeah, right.
Oh, this looks awesome. This looks awesome. So am I right? You said, so this is a story about a comic book fan reading a comic?
So, yes and no. So like basically, you're reading these 2 stories simultaneously, and kind of the mystery of the series is how the 2 connect. So, you'll be reading a few pages of the Monarch Crier, fighting, villains or being, doing this heroic thing, following his adventures. And it gives you that sense of, nostalgia and like Rufus's sense of what he loves about superheroes. And then you read about Rufus's own life and the things that, he's dealing with and the things that he's going through. And you get to, as each issue progresses, you get to learn more about what he loves about comics, what he loves about superheroes, and how the Monarch Crier reflects that, and how the Monarch Crier is kind of, that ideal guy, that ideal man that we all look up to, that we want to be. We could be a superhero. And so this all started, actually, the reason why I wrote this series and made this series was because after Stan Lee passed away, I wanted to do something kind of in his honor. I wanted to do something that could kind of give back that energy and that excitement that I used to get by reading Silver Age comics, because I loved them. I grew up reading them. Even though I'm a young guy, I really enjoyed picking up, trades and old comics and reading all of the classic stuff, because to me, it was lightning in a bottle, and it was very fascinating to see, how did this all start? My comic book history fascination took over, because I was really fascinated with the idea of okay, we know where the characters are now, but how did they all start out? What was their characteristics? What did they, what did they think? What did they feel? How did we get to where we are now? And I kind of wanted to go back to that place where things, to me, of course, they didn't have it all figured out, right? Like Stan Lee didn't know, and Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko, they didn't know these characters would take off as big as they did.
I just saw a thing on Twitter today where Stan Lee said about Spider-Man, because I didn't think he would be a hit. I just didn't want to lose my job.
Exactly. Yeah, it was mostly out of desperation. And when you read the story about how he came up with Fantastic Four, that was kind of his last-ditch effort, to do something. Yeah, he was just about to leave. And, so in preparation for writing the series, I read 2 or 3 biographies on Stan Lee, and I also read Marvel Comics, The Untold Story.
I read that too.
Yeah. And I really tried to kind of immerse myself in that world. And
did you read The Escapist?
Yes,
or the
I did.
Of Cavalier and Clay, rather.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's such an amazing book. And so I was trying to think of ways that I could kind of inject that energy and inject that fascination into a modern day comic. And that's why I didn't want to just do a nostalgia book. I didn't want to do something that's just Silver Age. And so that's where really Rufus's story came in, was I wanted to bring the reader to the modern day and okay, this is what comics are like now. This is what comic fans are like now. And this is what they're into and how they interact with each other. And, in issue 2, he and his friends, they go to a premiere of, a new superhero movie that they're really excited about, but they hate it because it doesn't follow the source material. So
you're writing about me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm writing about all of these conversations.
I'm my lawyer's on the phone, guys. If he shows up in a neck brace, I want one.
So as a comic book fan, you learn the language, right? We all have kind of our own language and how we talk about things and how we're our opinions. We can be very opinionated about how a character should be, what they should, how they should be presented, what the source material is, all that kinds of stuff, And so I wanted to kind of integrate that into a story about, classic superheroism, but have that back and forth conversation with the reader so that you can kind of see the differences. And, Rufus's life is very, one of someone who's stunted in life. He's a man child. He lives in his parents' basement. He's trying to.
Oh my God! I got to stop you for 1 second so people don't accuse me of anything. But I'm working on a comic called Eddie is Doomed.
Okay.
And if you notice, there's 2 different art styles. Tonic Mole is drawing everything about Eddie. Eddie is a man child. He's 35 years old. He's the manager of a supermarket. The first job he ever got as a kid, his father was 50. He was 15 years old. Father told him to get a job. He got a job stocking shelves. Now he's the manager. Down the block. He lives in his parents' basement, and you're gonna find out his father's a retired cop, and it's set in Queens, New York, and in 1986, because it has to be before cell phones and the internet.
Okay.
So his father says to him, mom's gone, your sister's gone. You find out that they died in a car accident. Father's like, there's no need to stay here anymore. This is too much. it's time for me to move to Florida. I'm going to retire. All my friends are in Florida. And Eddie's like, how can you do this to me?
Yeah.
You know, and then his basement is all comic books. You know, he's got this sweet collector's items and everything like that.
Right.
So he goes to the comic book store. You know, he goes to work. You know, it's in the morning. He goes to work and he's just like he's the manager, so everybody has to listen to him. Nobody cares. You know,
Yeah.
he's talking to everybody.
Right.
Everybody's like, whatever. And then after work, he goes to the comic book store, and it's his childhood friend. And he's like, can you believe my father's kicking me out? Not I got to save money now that I'm on retirement. You know, my father, you know, and he's like, oh my God, what are you going to do? And so Eddie's just like, he's doomed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
And then he's like, what is this comic? And the name of the comic is called Doomed Earth. And they're just like, oh, it's Top Comics. They're tired of being second fiddle to Premier Comics, so they're gonna condense their storylines. The Golden Age and the Silver Age are you know, they think it's too confusing and like they're gonna change the continuity. And he's just like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, it's a whole event. So basically, it's Crisis on Infinite Earth.
Crisis, yeah, right.
And he's just like, my real world is ending and my comic book world is ending. You know,
I love that. I love that.
The tagline to this is it's Love and Rockets meets Crisis on Infinite Earths.
That's so cool.
So
that's so
why
cool.
Tonic Ball is going to draw the real world with Eddie.
Yeah.
And Oscar Carano is color, because the real world is going to be black and white because it's reminiscent of Love and Rockets. And then the comic book world is over the top Silver Age. So Oscar and I have been designing Golden Age characters and Silver Age characters.
Oh, that's so awesome.
The Earth A and the Earth B, you know, and they're gonna have this, you know. So I just had to stop you and let you know. I didn't copy you.
Oh no, of course.
This is already well in progress.
No, I feel like you know, at some point we should do like a crossover or something. You know?
Eddie and Rufus has got to be friends.
Yeah, I know exactly. They have to be. They got to be living in the same. That would change things. It is in the modern day, so it's different there. But
somewhere in the multiverse.
Yeah, Rufus is going to show up. You know,
I don't know. You know what? I mean,
yeah.
If you don't mind, you know, send me an image. Maybe Rufus will just be in the comic store. You know what I mean? That'd be
so cool. I would love that. And or you know, maybe an old man Eddie would be in mine, right? Like he'd just be a little bit older, right? No, he's doomed. He's not coming out of this.
I'm just joking. Old man Eddie. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
but
playing it about modern comics, you know.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so yeah, like you know, in this issue of Man-Child, Rufus. I want to
bring back your campaign. I just wanted to prove to you that I didn't lift your idea.
Yeah, no, hey, totally.
Back the wrong thing.
But yeah, like so what's so fun about this next issue too, is with issue 3. Rufus is volunteering to help out at the comic book shop at his local LCS, and he doesn't know that.
Sorry to interrupt you, but if you're really studying Stan Lee, you're going to be claiming that you invented Eddie is Doomed.
That's funny. You know, I'm always
a little bit of a bad rap. I think he knew that it was a joke. Or whatever, and I think other people, like, I don't know, maybe when you're Jack Kirby and you see Stan Lee being on the Johnny Carson show and everything like that, even though you know it's a joke, it still hurts your feelings, and you're like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like if I, God, you know, whatever, I'm on some talk show talking about Eddie's Doom, me and Oscar are making up those characters,
and
then I say, only I made up, you know, I could see Oscar being like, dude.
Like, wait a second.
Yeah, so I understand. But I didn't interrupt you. It's just the Phantom Outsider made me laugh. Maybe Eddie grows up and becomes Eddie's an adult. He runs the supermarket.
Yeah.
And I will say that because I'm a pedantic continuity guy, the supermarket that Eddie runs is the supermarket that Mary Sue's parents started. So everything's connected.
That's so cool. Yeah. So, like when it comes to Stan Lee and that whole conversation, that was something that because honestly, I was very,
I'm very protective of Stan.
Yeah. Yeah. I am too. And I was really upset because after he passed away, I saw so many people talking shit about him,
Right.
like so many people just like spitting on his grave, talking about how he stole all these ideas. I'm like, the man just died. Like, let him rest in peace. But also, we have to realize that they had no idea what they were coming up with. They didn't know, like hindsight, they could be like, wow, these are going to be crazy, multi-million-dollar franchise characters and all this, all this types of things. But
the Marvel method really did blur the lines of who created what.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, it was more so a lot of the time conversation rather than like a physical document. It was like, Stan Lee had an idea or a plot, a story idea, and then Jack Kirby or Ditko would lay it out, do it all, and then Stan Lee would come back and fill in all the dialogue. But like, I don't think people give Stan Lee's dialogue enough credit, because what he's doing in the pages of those books, even though he may have not broke down every single scene, is he's giving character. Like the reason why we see Peter Parker the way we see him, it wasn't just necessarily because of what he was doing, but what he was thinking while he was doing it, or what he was saying while he was in the conversation. And there are, I think, instances where those lines got so blurred and so messy that at some point you're like, now wait a second, who came up with this idea anymore? And that's something that I've even realized in the comics that I've made with other creators and other artists that I've worked with, where we're just kind of having a phone call and we're talking about an idea, and then that idea is present in the story, and when people ask me about it, I'm kind of like, now wait a second, how did this all come about? Like, wait, it was a conversation that we had. I came up with this idea, Jay came up with this idea, and it's both our idea, but it only was created.
Eddie is doomed.
Yeah.
Here's a perfect example. I was in a panel with a bunch of people, and Tonic Bowl, who has a wonderful comic, Save the World, got to give my buddy a shout out. We were joking around talking about bad comics. And I said, oh, yeah, I'm working on the worst comic book in the world. It's about an adult who has to move out of his father's basement. I did it as a joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he sends me private messages. He goes, dude, that's the greatest idea for a comic book.
That's so cool. Yeah. Who made it, right? Yeah. Like, who should get credit for it? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So who, because I just made a joke, and Tonic Bowl is the one who made me think that it is a clever idea. And then I wrote a script, but I didn't have anything for the superhero stuff. And then I was like, you know what? I made up a cheesy superhero character.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, so I want to hire somebody to just draw this cheesy superhero character. And then while talking about it, I'm like, oh, now we have 10, because the name of the comics was Top Comics. So Top Comics has to have the top 10 heroes.
Oh, yeah.
And now I'm already working on, like, if Eddie is Doomed does well, I want to do a follow-up, and I want to hire 10 different artists, and each one's going to pick one of the characters and do their secret origins. I mean, I can really do 20, because it's the Golden Age and Silver Age.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so who created all this stuff? This is really me. So I fully say Eddie is Doomed is me, Tonic, and Oscar, because without any one of us, whereas Heroic Tales was I made that almost like as a teenager, but I had words on paper, and Renzo was turning it into a comic book. You know what I mean? So I can see why Stan would say what he did. I'm saying all this because it seems fashionable now to poop on Stan, and I'm very protective. First off, because I love comics, I love all these characters, but I do see now, and this sounds so pretentious, I can't believe I'm saying this. Now that I'm doing something creative, I can see how the lines would get blurred, and I am trying not to hurt anybody I work with's feelings.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? If me and you work on something and you want credit, all right, Netflix ain't knocking on my door. You know what I mean?
I think, I think it can get, I'm not going to say some things didn't get to Stan Lee's head, like, I mean, there's no doubt about that. But I think at the same time, he was one of the few people who could bear that on his shoulders, who could be the front man, who could go on Johnny Carson, you know, who could go to these places and be the face of Marvel. And in some ways, I think, you know, when you have to do that, and you have to, not to say that, you know, of course, wouldn't we all like to be Stan Lee on Johnny Carson, or, you know, being on talk shows and stuff, but like to be the guy who is always the face of the company, and who has to have that energy, and who has to be able to manage all that stuff and try to sell the world and these characters. I mean, at some point I could see how he feels like he did jumpstart it all, right? Like it's kind of on, like, without Stan Lee, who knows where we would have been, you know, who knows where superheroes would have gone to. So I feel like it's not just one man, but in a lot of ways, and depending on where you're coming from, I feel like writers understand Stan Lee more than artists do, and artists understand Kirby and Ditko and where they're coming from more. And so it's kind of that ever-present conversation that's happening. And there's a really good book I read that goes over the entire history of Stan and Jack's like legalities and all of their lawsuits and all the conversations they had. It's a really cool book that I recommend that people go and check out. But it tries to have an objective view in looking at all the different scenarios and all the different conversations and recorded conversations that were had about how these characters were made. And it really sheds a light on just how complex the issue is. It's just not black and white.
Right. It's kind of like I'm a big Beatles fan. You know, and people say, "Who's your favorite Beatle?" And I always say the Beatles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
they're one singular unit, right? You can't.
I do think they were like, you know, I'm like chemistry. If sodium and chloride are two poisonous, dangerous chemical, you put them together, you get salt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think if you take any of the Beatles away, the Beatles would have been lesser. Maybe Ringo. We could. No, I'm
Everyone gives Ringo a hard time, right?
They wouldn't have been the Beatles. You know what I mean? And to me, the evidence is, I don't think any of them were as good solo as
You're right. You're very right. Yeah.
Jack, like, but then again, I'm an insane comic book person. Like, I love Stan Lee.
Yeah.
But I revere Jack Kirby. There's a little bit of difference to me. Like if I was to meet Stan Lee, first off, I'd be scared because he's dead. But you know what I'm talking about. If I was to meet Stan Lee, I think I could have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
You know, but if I was to meet Jack Kirby, I think I would be like
intimidated, more intimidated. Yeah.
You know,
Right.
Because it's like Stan, and you know, I'm a writer, but I think I have a good imagination, but Jack Kirby to me is like it's almost supernatural, that guy's imagination.
Yes.
Like,
yes. I agree with you.
And again, this sounds pretentious, everybody. Take it. I can write. You know what I mean? I can write a story. I've written story. But I can't draw. And Jack Kirby can do something that I can't do. So I guess that's why I revere him.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. It feels like, and I feel that too. Like when I work with artists and I see what they can do, it feels like they're on a different level. You know, like I can't meet that. I can't match that. You know, we can talk about how much we love art together, but it's different when you're actually the one doing it. You know, you're the one that's putting the pencil to the paper and the ink to the paper, and what that whole experience is like. You know, so
like when I hear artists talk about like just the tools they use.
Yeah.
You know, like I use this 14.2 brush and this 19.2 light. I'm like, you know, and then I realized, you know, I'm an electrician too, so I got a lot of like esoteric tools too.
Right. Yeah.
So I wonder if that's how it sounds to outsiders listening to me and my friends do shop talk at work. But like,
that makes sense.
I hear, like I didn't, it doesn't matter, but I was talking like the other day, these guys were talking about the different thicknesses and the brushes. It's just so cool. Just so cool.
Yeah.
Stan might have come up with the story. Yeah, but yes. That was Steve Ditko's argument that Stan created words on a paper and Ditko made it into Spider-Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're both right. You know.
Yes. Yeah. I agree with you.
I don't know if you like your boy Zach Diversity in Comics, Richard C. Meyer. He was working with a narwhal. And somebody said, well, how much work do you do? How much work did, and he said, I put in 100% and narwhal put in 100%. And that was the first time I heard, and I look at the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four to me are 100% Jack Kirby and they're 100% Stan Lee.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but whatever. But I could see the other guys. I could see Steve Ditko's argument, and I could see why Jack would get mad too. But anyway, I get defensive, like, because again, it seems like it's popular when somebody dies. Like, I hated them all along.
I know. It's all like, you know, no one has the courage to say it while they're living, and then they say it when they're dead, and that's not courage. You know, that's just people being, I think, really, really rude and insensitive. You know, but.
I'll bring up your campaign again. And Phantom Outside always has. It made you tell with Stan telling how he and Jack created Galactus the Surfer. He said Jack brought in the page and Stan said, who's that big guy? Jack said, Galactus. Who's that small guy? And Jack said, yeah, I think Galactus and Silver Surfer.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much all Jack. Yeah.
And then Stan fell in love with the Silver Surfer, became his mouthpiece. You know. Here we got. Can I play this trailer?
Yeah, for sure.
The reason why I always ask is, like, is it copyrighted music or anything?
No copyright. My brother actually did the music for it. So
all right, I'm gonna make this big, and then we're gonna watch a trailer.
I'm Nandor Fox Shaffer, the head of Foxhole Comics, and welcome to the world of Man-Child. Man-Child is a commentary on comic book fandom that is one part Silver Age-inspired superhero adventure following the exploits of the Monarch Crier, and one part slice-of-life dramedy following super nerd Rufus Boston in an alternating narrative. This Kickstarter campaign is to raise funds for the production of issue 3 of the 6-part limited series, and in this installment, we are introducing the Sadistic Six, all new villains within the Man-Child universe, while also spending a day with Rufus at Uncle Chester's comic shop on an unexpectedly busy new comic book day. We've successfully funded the first 2 issues, and both are available during this campaign, so you can jump into the series straight away. We're offering a limited edition variant covered by the Winter Soldier co-creator Steve Epting, as well as our first ever collector's gatefold cover, plus many more reward options. Man-Child offers everything a superhero comic fan could want, and everything you didn't know you wanted. Embrace your inner Man-Child and back this book today.
Cool. Sometimes I can't hit buttons on time. Yeah. You got to send me what Rufus looks like. I got to have him in the comic book store.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I will do that. That'd be so much fun. That'd be so cool. We're, it's really different doing an like, I guess not an ongoing, but an issue by issue series. I usually have always done graphic novels or kind of larger books, but like doing a floppy series or single issue series has been really, challenging for me, because you're always trying to come up with ways to get people back in the door, to come back and like, hey, if you read issue 1, or if you missed issue 2, but you got issue 1, like, here's a reason to come back, and we're introducing all these new characters. And I really feel like in issue 3, it's going to be a 6-issue series. That's where I have the story arc.
Okay, that was my next question.
Yeah, so it's going to be 6 issues, and I have a finite ending, but kind of the same idea that you had with, your book was like, what if we did like, one shots of our villains, and like showed like their origins, like you could,
I made up 10 characters that are really 20 characters because they're too, and then they needed bad guys.
Yeah.
And then there's one, I made up one character just called Cat Nurse. Because like I was thinking, okay, so it's the golden age and they're trying to get girl comic book readers, and I could just picture like executives just, they're not really caring.
Yeah.
They're marketing the newspapers, and at night they're making comic books. They don't really care. What would girls want to read? And the other guy goes like, I don't know. The guy's like, what do they like? And the guy goes, they like cats, nurses. The guy's like, Cat Nurse. So that's going to be the joke with Cat Nurse. You walk around like, why am I even here?
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's totally like how, that's how, we have to remember, comics were, they were consumables. They were throwaway kind of entertainment, and they didn't put much thought into this. That doesn't mean that they weren't good stories, but like the characters and everything, was very flippant. They were coming up with characters on the fly. That's the reason why there are so many new villains and characters. It's like they were kind of coming up with it as they went and trying to make, the next issue more exciting than the last. And, it was only till we got 10, 20, 30 years into it where, it became a collector's item. It became about collecting rather than,
that's what Stan said. Like, all of a sudden he started getting letters from college kids about the Fantastic Four and especially Doctor Strange.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And they wanted him to come speak at like campuses and things like that. Yeah.
and it was really sad. He was always like a little embarrassed that he just did comics.
Yes.
He would be at parties and people like, yeah, I'm a doctor, I'm an attorney, I'm a lawyer, I'm an accountant. And then finally he would be like, yeah, I write count. And people are like, well, what do you write? Oh, I love the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Towards the end of his life, he was like, hey, everybody. I always say my brother's this huge biker guy, tattooed biker guy. He's had a like everybody in the 70s, a little bit of comic book interest, but he wasn't a comic book guy. But we went to a convention because George Romero was there. My brother loves horror movies.
Okay.
Horror movie. So we went to a convention, and I'm glad we went. It was like the last convention appearance of George Romero before he died. And Stan Lee was there. And my brother was like, that's Stan Lee. That's Stan Lee. Guy doesn't care about comic books, but he got that's Stan Lee. So yes. Yeah. Again.
That's really cool. Yeah. Stan really like transcended, like anyone's other fandom, like you saw him and it was like, people know who Stan Lee is, right?
Right. So. And I don't think it's a coincidence that once Stan Lee died, like comics are dying.
Yeah.
Like your boy Zach said that Stan Lee is like the Fisher King, that the Fisher King, like the health of the king is the health of the country, and now that Stan is gone, who's here? And I say that all the time on my channel, like we have to be Stan Lee because it's nobody else's job. It's not your job to promote my comic. It's not, you know what I mean? It's like, be Stan Lee. And, that's why I don't care. Like if anybody's promoting their book and saying crazy things, because that's what sells, Backstory. Right. One villain is a freak of nature. Another is a social pariah. One a spoiled rich guy. One a conquering mob boss. The last subdued who wanted to, that's Doom. Yeah. Don, good to see you got your internet access. You got to come back on my channel. I already saw this comment. Wolf and Bear, how you doing?
What's up, guys?
Yeah, a lot of people watching.
Excellent, excellent.
That's one of my topics. Is just Stan Lee. We wouldn't all be here.
See, that's how I feel about it. That's why when I and I like how you pointed out how Stan Lee used to be ashamed of writing comics, because that was a huge reason why I wanted to do this book, was because I feel like throughout my life, and even though comics and these characters have become cool or mainstream in a way, for the longest time, that just was not the case. I mean, we weren't walking around with Spider-Man, Captain America t-shirts, like all the time. It was like something that you had to look for. And when you found it, you had to kind of like, should I wear this?
It's funny that you said that. I remember my friend had a blue t-shirt with the Superman shield on it. And he was sitting in a diner once, and I didn't know, but I was working at a gas station at the time. This was high school, and they were making fun of us.
Really? Wow.
Me sitting with a kid wearing underoos, as they described it, because
oh my gosh,
we're not joking, guys. For those of you who are younger, when I was 16, 17 years old, the only superhero clothes were for children, like toddlers and baby clothes, and underoos and stuff like that. You got action figures, but we were in high school. We didn't have ice. I was at this point, I was hiding that I was buying comic books.
Yeah.
So I'm in the diner. Mike takes off his. I'm like, you know what I mean? So when I went to work, they were like, how's your friend with the underoos? Like, what are you talking about? Everybody likes Superman. Like, when I was a kid,
I know.
I mean, Christopher Reeve movie, yeah, that's different. That's a movie. You know, it was
yeah, and see, like that to me, that's so weird because like there's such a huge disconnect. It's like, well, so what? I can enjoy it if it's on screen, but I can't enjoy it if I'm reading it. That makes absolutely no sense, you know. And
but it absolutely existed.
Yeah.
Now it's the other way around. You'll get like 50-year-old women who never read a comic book in the world, like, look at my Harley Quinn T-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like this is a toxic relationship. I don't know if you want to be Harley Quinn. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's supposed to be, you know, the abusive side chick to a serial killer.
Right. Yeah.
Could anyone describe what Julie Schwartz, Kurt Swan, Bill Finger, Gardner Fox, and the comic book looks like? No. You know, and it's funny because if you showed me a picture of Gardner Fox or Julie Schwartz, I got a 50-50 chance of naming them correctly. Like,
yeah.
But it hasn't been imprinted on my brain. But I could, even Stan Lee before the hair weave, Stan Lee before the mustache. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could still picture Stan Lee. You know,
well, if you look on the campaign page really quick, I'd like to show you something. Sure. A particular page, in the preview of issue 3, because if you look up. What Jay and I decided to do, something I wanted to do for the Monarch Crier, his alter ego, you know, his regular name is George Jeffrey, and you know, you got to have that alliteration in there, of course, for all your superhero characters. But if you could keep scrolling down for me, keep going. It's the page where he's fighting the creatures. Yeah, that page right there. So if you look at that top panel. Of the Monarch Crier unmasked. If you look up really young photos of Stan Lee when he was in his 20s, that's what he looked like. Yeah, and so we took inspiration from a really young Stan Lee. That is the Monarch Crier. That's like what he looks like outside. Yeah, outside the mask and everything. So and I took a lot of little Easter eggs for people who really, you know, love the lore and love learning about like Stan Lee and comic book history and kind of his life. There's a lot of things in the book itself that are kind of alluded to, you know, little things that maybe only comic book fans would really understand. But it's little things like that I like to kind of put in there. And, you know, for people who know, they know, you know, it's like you'll get it if you're a comic book fan. But, and that's, you know, that's what I appreciate about my superhero stories are stories that, you know, reward the reader for their investment and reward the reader for knowing the ins and outs of, you know, a character's continuity or knowing, you know, the creators and where things have come from, you know, knowing all that stuff. Being
continuity, just start again at issue number 1, next issue. Just start all over again.
Yeah. It's just like, now wait a second. Like, you know, if we're on issue 16, it's issue 16, you know, and I get the idea. Yeah. And I remember, you know, that's something that I always found such a challenge because this is something Stan Lee would say, you know, he would say every issue is probably someone's first comic, you know, and so you have to balance that, right? Like you have to think, okay, how can I make this issue exciting and really great and not too like bogged down in continuity? But hey, if we are on issue 16 of something, we can't like compromise in what we're doing here for the reader who's been following us all this time. And so that's a real, you know, balance act that I think Marvel and DC has been really struggling with and trying to figure that out. And, you know, rather than, I think, balance it, you know, they just, the easy thing to do is just restart, you know, it's just restart. But it's kind of the quick and fast way to do it rather than, I think, the more wise way to do it.
If you notice, they kept all the original numbering up until Stan was too old to do anything about it.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Yep. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm trying to think like Stan's. Once his wife died, I knew he wasn't going to last.
That's right. That's right. Usually couples, and when they're older, if one goes, the other will go pretty soon afterwards.
I'm trying to think like what, you know.
Well, and you know,
2015, because that's when even before that.
Yeah, yeah. I think he passed away in 2018. Yeah, she passed away a couple years earlier than that. Um and that's another, trivia is, Gwen Stacy, like she was based off Joan, and from what I gather, a lot of the female characters or like Invisible Woman, like that was something that that they would look at their wives, and be like, okay, I want to like, put her in there, for fun. And that's really cool.
I
yeah.
keep saying that. I forget who it was. Chick Stone. Oh, one of the guys at the Marvel bullpen. He was like a young, handsome guy, and he would always go and pick up girls and just be like, "Hey, you want to be a model? Come on down." And he would bring them down to the Marvel headquarters and have them pose.
Oh, that's great! I love that.
And,
I love that.
All the older, like Jack was married at the time. So
yeah,
like, yeah, stand there, put in a cigar, and
stick around. Yeah.
I it's either. I was about to say Jack Chick, but he's the one that made the Chick tracks. Was it Chick Stone, I think, or was it Vince Coletta? I forget which one it was. But how cool would that be?
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Oh, you guys are drawn, and then like how many times did he pull that line? Oh, I'm the invisible woman. No, you're not. I'm the invisible. Like if they all met someplace.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. We've been talking for an hour. Is there anything that I didn't bring up that you'd like to bring up? Anything you want to say?
Well, I do want to let people know, if you keep going down, if we go to the add-ons, to the campaign, I do want to let people know that, so those are all just the rewards again. Okay. But after the rewards, I have the add-ons. And so I have, the other issues available. I also have the other variant covers of the first two issues available too. So, if you see any of those are other covers that you can get for the issues. And yeah, so wow. I worked with
look at this 2C over here. That is
cool. Yes, that one's by one of my favorite artists named Flops. He does some really amazing stuff. Flops, and then there's a Jim Rugg
awesome too. This 2D. I mean, they're all great, but man, look at this.
Yeah, so in issue 2, Monarch Crier fights this huge robot in that issue, giant robot. Every good superhero store needs a giant robot that is. What's the giant robot's name? So, I don't have one. I didn't have one. He's just a creation of Professor Program that he sends out to fight him. Great design. That looks so good. Yeah. So, but yeah, I worked with Tony Harris on a cover for issue 1. And I worked with some, fantastic artists and fantastic people, but, you can get all the other variant covers, as add-ons, and you can also get the Fabled Offering, if you missed out on that book, and also Lifeline. And then our first stretch goal is the trading card set. So if we hit 6,000, we will unlock the Sadistic 6 trading card set, and we'll have, trading cards for each of the characters. And then at 7,500, we'll unlock the sticker, set. And then at 10,000, we'll unlock a T-shirt where people can add this on to their order, and you can have a T-shirt that says "I am a man-child" with the Monarch Crier symbol on there.
Guys at the old gas station will make fun of me for wearing that.
Yes. So, but yeah, no, I just I encourage everyone to check it out. And if you're looking at issue 3 and you're like, hey, what about issues 1 and 2? You can go to my previous campaigns. I have preview art up for all of those if you want to get a glance at what those look like. I do want to emphasize that if you are interested in backing the book, that you can get all the early bird discounts. Today only is the last day to get them. So, get in on it. We're nearly 50% funded, and we just launched like 2 days ago. So we're on our way. Yeah, we're on our way. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. This is like, the most fun that I've had in making comics is making this book. A lot of my other stories are a lot much darker and more serious. And this is definitely a book that has some drama, but there's a lot of comedy. There's a lot of heart to it. And it's a story that if you are a superhero fan, if you love, reading comics growing up, and of the generation of reading comics in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, you're really going to love this book because we have all the thought balloons. We have all of the narration. I really had to kind of look at old Stan Lee books, and if you look at a lot of old comics, just how dense they were, how much writing there is, and all of those, it's insane. And so I tried to replicate that, but tried to do it in a way that wouldn't like overwhelm readers. But at the same time, that's again the contrast between Rufus's story and the Monarch Crier story, is being able to see how modern superhero sensibilities are different than those of yesteryear.
So I might as well bring it up since we've been talking about Stan Lee.
Oh yeah, very cool.
Yeah, he's working on his own comic called The Thug. Can't wait to have him on talking about that.
That's awesome. That's cool.
Fan art of the patriarch. Yeah, I definitely don't forget, man, to send me an image of Rufus.
Okay, I'll do that.
Rufus will be in the comic books. Maybe they'll talk a finer point of something ridiculous.
That'd be so cool. I'll do that. Yeah, I'll send that to you. I have a character sheet, a character design sheet, so I can send that to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna close down now because at 8:30 I have comic book team up on my channel where RJ is gonna come on, and we're
excellent.
RJ, myself, and Nick Axe. I couldn't get a guest. So we're going to go through comic book covers.
Okay.
And just talk about comic book covers. And Nick is a good artist, so he'll talk about that. Whereas me and RJ are just slobbering fanboys. So half hour to eat dinner and then talk for God knows how long. But yeah, check it out, man. I want to bring up your link one more time.
For sure.
Yeah, let's everybody click on this because, like you said, the early bird stuff is going to expire today.
Yes. Yep.
So you got so many good covers, man. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good covers. Oh, we got Heroinberg just showed up. How you doing?
Hey, Heroinberg, dude, it's been a long time.
Oh, you know him too?
Yeah. I do. Yeah.
Okay. All right. But thanks a lot, everybody. Go check it out. I'm going to go back right now. I used to back live, but then I started getting paranoid that people would see my credit card information.
Yeah. That's fair.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody. A lot of fun.
All right. Peace out.